Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. I'm just going to give an update. Seems this virus is just taking off around the world, and it's just getting a little worrisome as the cases in the United States climb as well. Here in South Korea, the virus spreads as a city as thousands are screened. Seoul, South Korea. South Korea on Saturday reported a six-fold jump in viral infections in 4 days to 346, most of them linked to a church and a hospital in and around the fourth largest city, where health workers scrambled to screen more than 9,000 worshippers. There's concern that the death toll, currently at 2, could grow. Virus patients with signs of pneumonia or other serious condition at the Qingdao Hospital were transferred to other facilities, 17 of them critical. Tokyo delays Olympic volunteer training because of the virus. While again stating there are no plans to cancel or delay Tokyo Olympics, local organizers postponed training sessions for volunteers on Friday for at least 2 months because of the virus outbreak spreading from China. About 80,000 people are needed at the Olympics to provide free work for the IOC calls key support to ensure the success of the Games. Tokyo organizers said the postponed sessions are part of efforts to prevent the spread of the infection, novel coronavirus. Training will be postponed until May or later, organizers said on their website. More than 200,000 people applied to be volunteers, with about 1/3 from outside Japan. The Olympics are scheduled to run from July 24th to August 9th. This article says the new virus has infected over 79,000 people globally, but that's counting China, and we know those numbers are just not right. There's just too much going on there to believe those numbers. A viral outbreak that began in China has infected more than 79,000 people globally. The World Health Organization has named the illness COVID-19, referring to its origin late last year and the coronavirus that it causes it. The latest figures reported by each government's health authority as of Monday in Beijing. Mainland China, 2,592 deaths among 77,150 cases. And you have to keep in mind that the cases that they're reporting are only the ones that they've tested. So many people died of pneumonia or heart illness before they started testing. And they have sent away thousands of people from the hospitals without testing them. Lots of people have died in their apartments, undiagnosed. And so that number of 77,150 cases is way off, and we all know it. Hong Kong now has 74 cases with 2 deaths. Macau, 10 cases. Japan, 838 cases, including 691 from a cruise ship docked in Yokohama, 4 deaths. South Korea, 763 cases with 7 deaths. Italy, 152 cases and 3 deaths. Singapore, 89 cases. Iran, 43 cases and 8 deaths. United States, 35 cases separately, and 1 U.S. citizen has died in China. Thailand, 35 cases. Taiwan, 28 cases, 1 death. Australia, 23 cases. Malaysia, 22. Vietnam, 16. Germany, 16. France, 12 cases and 1 death. United Arab Emirates, 13 cases. United Kingdom, 13 cases. Canada, 10. Philippines, 3 cases with 1 death. Kuwait, 3 cases. India, 3 cases. Russia, 2. Spain, 2. Israel, 2. Bahrain, 1. Lebanon, 1. Belgium, 1. Nepal, 1. Sri Lanka, 1. Sweden, 1. Cambodia, 1. Finland, 1. And Egypt, 1. But then we move to Italy, where it's really taking off. Italy rushes to contain Europe's first major virus outbreak. Italy scrambled Sunday to check the spread of Europe's first major outbreak of the new viral disease amid rapidly rising numbers of infections and a third death, calling off the popular Venice Carnival, scraping Major League Soccer matches in the stricken area, and shuttering theaters, including Milan's legendary La Scala. Certain concern was also on the rise in neighboring Austria, which halted all rail traffic to and from Italy for several hours after a suspicion that a train at its southern border with Italy had 2 passengers possibly infected with the virus on board, authorities said. Austria's Interior Ministry said it had been informed by Italy's railway company that 2 passengers had fever, and they stopped the train at Brenner crossing and it could before it could enter into Austria. However, just before midnight, Austria's Federal Railways announced on Twitter the ban had been lifted. Austria Interior Minister Karl Nehammer said that 2 people suspected of being infected with the virus on the Eurocity 86 train from Venice to Munich had tested negative, and the train would be allowed to continue on its way, according to the ORF broadcast network. The decision to call off Venice Carnival was announced by Veneto Regional Governor Luca Zia as the number of confirmed virus cases soared to 152, the largest number outside of Asia. The ordinance is immediately operative and will go into effect at midnight, said Zia, whose area includes Venice, where thousands packed St. Mark's Square. Carnival would have run through Tuesday. Roadblocks were set up in at least some of the 10 towns in Lombardy at the epicenter of the outbreak, including in Casale Postero Lingo, to keep people from leaving or arriving. Even trains transiting the area weren't allowed to stop, so they wouldn't even let the trains stop in the area. Buses, trains, and other forms of public transport, including boats in Venice, were being disinfected, Zia told reporters. Museums were also ordered to shut down after Sunday in Venice, a top tourist draw any time of the year, as well as in neighboring Lombardy, which, with at least 110 confirmed cases, is the epicenter of the viral outbreak. Authorities said 3 people in Venice have tested positive for the viral disease known as COVID-19, all of them in their late 80s and who were hospitalized in critical condition. Other northern regions with smaller number of cases are Emilia, Romagna, and Piedmont. Italy's first 2 cases were a Chinese tourist couple diagnosed earlier this month and reported recovering in a Rome hospital. The death on Sunday of an elderly woman who was already suffering from cancer when she contracted the virus raised the nation's death toll to 3, said Lombardy Regional Officer Giulia Galera. Authorities expressed frustration that they haven't been able to track down the source of the virus that is spreading in the north, and which surfaced last week when an Italian man in his late 30s in Codogno became critically ill. The health officials haven't been yet able to pinpoint patient zero. And Angelo Borelli, head of the National Civil Protection Agency, he told reporters in Rome. At first, it was widely presumed that the man was infected by an Italian friend he dined with and who had recently returned from his job based in Shanghai. But when the friend tested negative for the virus, attention turned to several Chinese residents who frequent the same cafe visited by the stricken man. But Lombardy Governor Attilio Fontana told reporters they all tested negative too. So for now, Borelli indicated the strategy is to concentrate on closures and other restrictions to try to stem the spread in the country, which already had taken measures early on in global virus alarm, including banning direct flights from China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau. Italy has also tested millions of airport passengers arriving from other places for any signs of fever. Which, guys, we know that you can be contagious for 24 days before any sign of the virus, and that the virus symptoms can be so slight that you don't even know that you were sick, and that we don't even have any idea how long this is still contagious after you've had a notable illness. Worry is understandable, panic no. Premier Giuseppe Conte told a state TV talk show host, who informed him that 4 bottles of disinfectant hand gel, which normally sells for a few euros apiece, were being hawked for 200 euros on the internet. The interview was conducted by phone in a studio without an audience after authorities requested that the public not be allowed in for health concerns. Galero told reporters in Milan that schools, museums, discos, pubs, and theaters would stay closed for at least 7 days. But restaurants in Milan and other Lombardy cities outside the main cluster area can still operate since, unlike at concerts and other entertainment venues and eateries, people are not congregated in one place and there is space between tables. Well, that's what Galileo said. But if you consider that we've heard that the virus can be contracted within 6 to 12 feet, it doesn't seem like tables in a restaurant would be far enough apart. Besides the wait people that are going from table to table and back and forth to the kitchen, seems like that would be just as bad a place to spread the virus as anywhere else. Lombardy's ban on public events also extended to masses in predominantly Roman Catholic nation. Venice also was forbidding public masses, while in Milan, the city's iconic Gothic cathedral was closed to visitors. School trips inside Italy and overseas were banned. But in the south, thousands turned out for the visit by Pope Francis in the port city of Bari. The pontiff shook hands with many of the faithful. In Lombardy, a populous region which includes the country's financial capital, Milan, nearly all the cases of COVID-19 were in the countryside, mainly in Codogno, and 9 neighboring towns. In those towns, only grocery stores and pharmacies were permitted to open, and people weren't supposed to enter or leave the towns. Here we have more people being locked down. Melissa Cantasena, who lives on one of Codogno's main roads, said in the morning she ventured outside for a stroll along with her husband and 2 children, ages 10 and 13. Every quarter hour or so a car goes by on the main road. Kennedy said, speaking by telephone. With businesses closed, the usual Sunday progression or a leisurely stroll through local streets didn't last very long, she said. With schools to stay shut through the week, her children were visiting their friends' houses or inviting them over to hers to break the boredom, she said. Oh my goodness, what don't people understand about, staying in your home to avoid, catching the disease or passing it along to someone else? Sporting events were canceled, from children's team practices to Serie A soccer matches, which were to be played in northern stadiums. Those measures were ordered Saturday night by the Italian government. Dispensers of hand disinfectant were being installed in trains run by the state railways, which also said it was supplying its crews with masks and disposable gloves. Britain's number of confirmed cases rose to 13, with the positive test results of 4 Britons who had been aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship, which had been moored for days at a Japanese port when the ship was quarantined. And Japan really wasn't taking this very seriously until President Trump called them and said, look, you guys got to get real here, okay? In Austria, security official Franz Lang said the country was considering activating border controls to Italy. Both nations are part of the European Union's visa and passport-free zone, but under certain circumstances, individual countries can reactivate controls. Lang said the situation would be discussed in meetings Monday, local Austrian media reported. In Switzerland, which like Austria borders Italy, there was a call for calm. The news from Italy is worrisome, but it is too early to think that a wave is rolling our way, Daniel Koch, the head of the Department for Contagious Diseases at the Health Office, told the SRF public broadcaster. See, this is a problem when these people are thinking it's not going to hit them, and so they're not taking precautions until after the fact that they have an outbreak. The German Health Ministry said it had initiated a phone conference for all European Union public health authorities about the outbreak in northern Italy on Monday. French Health Minister Olivier Véran said that authorities were getting ready for a possible outbreak in France of the new virus. In an interview published Sunday in French paper Le Parisien, he said he was monitoring closely the very serious situation, including in neighboring Italy. They're monitoring it. They're not taking precautions. Why aren't people wearing masks and using hand sanitizers before the fact of an outbreak? Earlier this month, France reported the first death outside Asia of a person infected with the virus, an 80-year-old Chinese tourist. Among those in quarantine in Italy were 274 migrants rescued in the Mediterranean Sea by a charity ship from boats launched by Libya-based traffickers, and also to disembark in Pozzallo, Sicily. D'Amelia reported from Rome. Associated Press writers Sylvie Covert in Paris, Christian Grieshaber in Berlin, and Jill Lawless in London contributed to this report. And they're doing a fantastic job getting the news out. But I don't understand how people are not taking precautions now before the virus becomes a problem. I mean, masks for everyone and hand sanitizer at every public station. I mean, things can be done to try to mitigate this virus growing, but people are waiting and to see, and they're monitoring. This is crazy. And I have to encourage my American citizens that they start wearing masks and using gloves and hand sanitizers and taking every kind of precaution with the elderly and the young children to try to keep them isolated away from public spaces. This has to be taken more seriously, or we're going to have as bad a problem as these other countries who waited to see. So, everybody say your prayers and do everything you can to try to keep your family safe and free from this virus, because there are so many people walking around that are infected and nobody even has any idea. They themselves have no idea. So be careful, folks, and thanks for tuning in. And hey, hit the like button if you enjoyed what I presented for you tonight. And have a blessed day.